Welcome to the Nonprofit Report, your update on nonprofit organizations, issues, and leaders. I'm your host, Mark Oppenheim, and today I have the distinct pleasure to have the management team and the board chair for Business Volunteers Unlimited, Biz Voudouris, President and CEO, and Kathleen Golovan, the board chair, and also Chief Administrative Officer and Corporate Secretary at Westfield Insurance. Thank you both for being with us. I'm just so excited. The idea of volunteerism is as American as apple pie, isn't it, Biz?
Yes, it is. I mean, from the very beginning, it's been part of what Americans have always done. And I think we've got a real unique culture of giving back and supporting our communities. So absolutely.
Well, coming together also, Kathy, to not only make home where you work, but make home where you live and make home where other people live and provide that kind of support, taking professional competencies and placing them in service to the community. Isn't that part of what creates a great city, a great municipality, a great region?
Absolutely. And it really, BVU was founded by business leaders in Northeast Ohio who decided that there has to be an easier and better way to connect the business talent with the not-for-profit sector for the benefit of the greater community. And so based on that foundation, BVU has continued to serve a whole bunch of constituencies, the not-for-profit universe, the business universe, and the community as a whole.
And this wasn't that long ago. This was in 1993. TRW, BP, Key Bank, Jones Day Eaton, the Cleveland Foundation, the George Gunn Foundation, United Way of Greater Cleveland, and probably a few others came together. So these were business leaders, they were community leaders, they were civil society leaders who said, okay, we've got some resources on the sidelines, let's get them into the pool and let's start to deploy those resources. Biz, could you just talk a little bit about how that actually happens on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. Just as you said from the very beginning, the businesses said, we have so many fabulous people at our businesses beyond the CEO. Let's get them involved. And so today, if you jump forward 33 years, we're a bridge between businesses and the nonprofit sector. And on the business side, we work with them to engage their employees, either help them find the right nonprofit board. We match them and we train them to serve on a board that meets their passions and their interests and needs their skills, or we connect them as pro bono volunteers for shorter term, high impact projects, or we get them involved as direct service volunteers, big teams doing cleanups or sorting donations, powerful projects that make it a lot easier for nonprofits to get something done. And so on the nonprofit side, they have access to all those volunteers, board, pro bono, and direct service. And they also have access to consulting services, because once we train these folks for boards, they'd call us and say, I love the mission here, but they're not doing what you said they were supposed to be doing during the training. So we've developed some consulting services to strengthen boards and help them with strategy and succession. And we also do a lot of education. So we're one-stop shopping for businesses and nonprofits. We really sit at the intersection in our community. It's an incredible place to sit.
The thing that I think is so interesting about that story and how you unpacked it is that you're exchanging information and you're educating each other, right? Part of the issue that somebody who might want to volunteer has is that they don't know how to be used, or their counterparts don't know how to leverage them. And so often a volunteer will come in and have a frustrating experience, then exit the experience saying, oh, they're all messed up. It's not that they're all messed up. It's just that there's no education that's going on. And so that's what you're doing. You're basically helping to educate the nonprofit and using these experts, but you're also educating the experts in how nonprofits function. That's really important for sustainability of the sector, isn't it, Kathy?
It absolutely is. And I think that that's what's so unique about BVU, that it really is the mass translator. And between the business and how the businesses see the universe and how nonprofits see the universe, and take the best of both worlds and cross-train people. And I've been so lucky. I was a client of BVU at one point in time, and now I've used BVU services as a development tool for people on my teams. And so to see it through the whole life cycle has been a really unique position for me to find myself in.
I'd like to talk a little bit about American civil society because I really think we have a problem in this country in this idea of me. It's all me. That really is very corrosive. And you seem to be the antidote to me. Right? There's a lot of respect that goes on when you come into somebody else's environment with an open mind to learn and to listen. And then to accept somebody from outside of your environment where you're also going to learn and listen. Right? You're basically creating a sense of unity in community that is built on shared objectives. How do you foster that kind of cultural attribute that then embeds within businesses? So businesses are thinking more like nonprofits in terms of general society and not just quarterly profits at the end of every 3 months, but they're also thinking about a sustainable place within a community where the business itself and all of the employees are seen as really embedded. If I'm going to do business, I'm going to do business with that person because that person has actually served my purpose. Biz, you want to give a cut at that?
I think in terms of a lot of the businesses we work with, we have, worked with hundreds of businesses. One of their core values is often something to the, we want to support the community where our employees work and live and where we do business. Now, some businesses that we work with don't do any business even in North America, but they're still, they still want to support the community where their employees work and live. I think what sometimes people don't think of is that most of us are using nonprofit organizations every day. It's not just for, very unique issues. We're using the arts, we're using the education, the environmental, the health and human services. They're really filling the critical gaps in our society, not only for the, for the real dire social issues, but, again, for some of these issues that impact all of us. So to get folks involved, they not only, I think it helps people find purpose when they can use their skills or just their time and energy outside the workplace and know that they're giving back and doing something good. That's good for there are studies that said that volunteerism is good for team building. It's good for leadership development. It's good for developing empathy. It's good for mental health. It's good for people's just long-term health. And if you think of the loneliness, I know you talked more about the empathy and the connection to the society, but there's so much about loneliness and just getting out and volunteering with other people. That's also another way to combat loneliness. And I remember years ago, a professor from Harvard, Rosabeth Moss-Cantor, talked about from the business perspective, she said volunteerism can almost be like crisis glue, because when you're seen as a good neighbor in the community, that's going to give you some credibility when things aren't necessarily going right. So I think there's a lot to it.
I love that point that we're unconscious about the ubiquity of nonprofits. If you're running a business, Kathy, your business probably belongs to professional associations, or at least your employees do, right? There are experts who are lobbying for particular legislation, right? If you are in the food business, then it's possible that a food bank is taking a product that doesn't look pretty for the shelves and making sure that people gain access to it. If you're manufacturing clothing, then it's probable that there is a nonprofit that is taking your excess manufactured goods and making sure those get distributed, right? So if you have a child who's being educated, if you have an elder who is being cared for, if you have a relative who has certain challenges, right? I mean, it's all over the place. We are business saying, like, we don't think about this, but it's really there for us when we need it. If we get sick, if we get hit, if there's a fire and first responders need support, right? If there are police who are injured in the line of duty, who supports it's the
who preserves the arts, right? And culture and beauty of our society. I mean, it's all of those things.
That's the beauty of this, as I think you said it well, Mark. it's opening the eyes to the business community, and not a lot of businesses don't need their eyes open, but to the benefit of being good corporate citizens. Number one, there are whole generations of employees now that want to have bigger meaning in their life and want to work for organizations that believe in a greater good. And so to be able to be a connector for that is great. Biz said it, that volunteer activities are huge development opportunities for teams. And so this is an opportunity for businesses to do talent development in a space outside of the four walls of their building. And finally, they're making communities where people want to live. And they're making better places for their employees to go home at night by supporting these organizations. And so even if they had zero philanthropic bone in their body as an organization, there are so many self-serving ways that businesses can get value out of being involved in an organization like BVU and supporting the community and supporting these non-for-profits because there's so much value to go around. And it's not just the not-for-profits that are getting the value out of the relationships.
So let's talk about that value. We're going to put a little bit of context on this, and Biz, if you could correct these stats. 4,300 professionals matched to nonprofit board opportunities. Is that about right?
It's close. I think it just continues to grow.
500 plus nonprofits advised on governance, succession, strategic planning, and so on.
So consulting.
4,000 neighbors helped at the homeless stand down, which I want to come back to. $250 million plus in community value generated by civic leaders, pro bono consultants, and business volunteers. That's huge. $250 million.
Yeah, and I think that's in a window of our time frame. It's not the whole time. It's bigger than that. Yeah, I mean, there's volunteers generate. Again, if we do a huge cleanup at a nonprofit, they would have paid people to do that. Now these people can instead be delivering food and not worrying about the cleanup, right? So we're the value's there.
And the value is the hard labor of working in a food bank, which is one of my favorite volunteer activities. But it's also IT professionals coming and helping a small not-for-profit with their systems.
Absolutely.
That they don't have to pay a computer consultant because you can do that, or attorneys doing pro bono work for a not-for-profit. So they don't have to go and engage law firms, and they can use their every dollar on core mission. And so the money adds up pretty quickly when you talk about the big scale volunteering events, and then matching really technical experts with the needs of not-for-profits.
I love that you said that, Kathy. I was on the phone with somebody today talking about joining a board, and she said, I know why boards need attorneys and they need, CPAs, but why would they need me? I'm in sales. And the nonprofit CEO was there, and he said, are you kidding me? Your skills, you can help us think about development and fundraising. You can also help us recruit board members and volunteers. And I think people don't realize that all of our skills can be used in some way by a nonprofit. People think, I have nothing to give. Yes, you do. I mean, we all have something to give.
So that's absolutely correct, right? A friend of mine is a plumber. He helped a fairgrounds locally do all of their plumbing, right? And he did that on a pro bono basis. Mm-hmm. Another friend is an electrician, same kind of thing. If you're an IT professional, if you have manual labor in your body that you can contribute, if you can provide sales or marketing expertise, my God, these are really important skills that nonprofits can. Security. Right? If you understand cybersecurity or physical security, how many organizations require that kind of support, particularly these days where you have cyber criminals aided by AI constantly attacking us all? I'd like to come to some of your events, because you have governance and leadership events, nonprofit capacity building events. And I want to in particular talk a little bit about, and listen to you talk about, the homeless stand down, because these are issues that are near and dear to my heart. That's where a lot of issues of unsheltered individuals, families, veteran services. There are all sorts of different intersectional issues. Could you talk a little bit about this homeless stand down program that you have?
Yeah, it's something that we actually inherited. It's been in the community for 35 years. They were started across the country by veterans organizations, and it's evolved here in this market. And at this point, we own it. We once a year have a day that offers our guests who are experiencing homelessness with access to resources like things you might need like coats and shoes and toiletry kits and those types of things. Also services. So we have several medical providers there providing all types of services from mammograms to, cancer screenings, vaccine, everything that, any of the medical services that can be provided. And then we have about 80 other partners that just provide services to people in the community, and they all come in one place. So one day somebody can come instead of having to take a bus here one day and a bus here another day. In one day, they've got access to legal expungement services and looking at home repair, anything that any of the different services they might need access to, they can access them in one day. So last year, we served about 600 folks. We had 500 volunteers there. It's a very powerful volunteer event, and folks come in and they get a guide who's their partner for the day, who takes them through all the resources, helps them access. So everybody gets their own guide, helps them access the medical services that they need, and then the additional services. And then everybody gets a warm meal. There's music. It's happy. People are singing and dancing. And it's a 4-hour event. Folks leave with a bag full of stuff that they need, and information that they needed or resources that they needed, and then some of the medical care that they need. So we are really proud of that event. And Kathy has been a volunteer with us.
And having gone through some poverty simulations where live a day in the life of somebody experiencing poverty and homelessness, I realized how valuable just being able to make all of those connections in one space. You wouldn't think about it, but not even knowing where to go, but to have all of the safety net services in one place. It is great that we do shoes and coats and everything else, but we also help people navigate something that is really, really hard to navigate. And I think there's a sense of dignity as well. I love the fact that people get their haircuts there, and we had family portraits there, I believe, this year. And so there's a little bit of everything in one spot to help the people that are struggling, with homelessness.
And we're also providing educational services to people who have lived a life that is distant from that kind of need. And don't really appreciate how close we all are to being in that circumstance.
They sign up the day we open it. It's full, 500 volunteers.
The volunteering.
Yeah, because people really value the opportunity to feel like and it's very much, when you greet somebody, when you're there, when you greet your guest, it's, hi, I'm Elizabeth. What's your name? And, you talk, you have a conversation human to human. So it's really a beautiful event.
If you were to drive home one message and raise awareness about one program going forward, Kathy, why don't we start with you? What message would you drive home to viewers of this program on how they should think about your work and how they should think about their own investment of time?
I would use my own use of our board matching services. So over 25 years ago, BVU matched me with my first not-for-profit board with a small not-for-profit that was struggling and actually helped homeless and jobless families to get back on their feet. So they provided them housing and clothing and helped them navigate the system and learn how to apply for a job and help them get dressed for success and do all of those things. I would have never made the connection for that first opportunity. I was too young to know that I didn't know anything to be able to be in that opportunity. And I was trained to do that role well. Fast forward now, board matching, my organization actually has upped the number of matchings that we use BVU for because it's part of our talent development. So if we have up and coming talent, we want to place them on boards and we want them to be part of the boards, because not only are we giving back to the community by sharing our talent, we support them financially for whatever board they serve on, but we also get much better employees back who have an experience to do some leadership things that they might not during their 9-to-5 job. And so having seen it both as employee and boss, I think it's a fabulous program that really impacts the not-for-profit world, but really impacts the leaders in the corporate world as well.
A couple who I really, truly admired, and they were mentors of mine, used to say that those who are served shall educate. How have you been the recipient of education and advantage from people who are less fortunate than you?
I was very lucky to have role models in my life. My grandfather always said, to those who much is given, much is expected. And this is living it. To know that I have been fortunate, sort of born fortunate. And I could very easily find myself in situations, had I not been so born fortunate, that many of the people that I have served find themselves at. And so understanding how we are all interconnected, and sometimes it's luck and nothing else. And so to be able to sort of live the mantra to those, who as much is given, much is expected, has been personally most fulfilling. And I will tell anybody that board service and volunteering has given me a lot more than I've ever given any organization. The personal growth, satisfaction, in meeting some incredible people, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
So your admonition is we should all volunteer.
We should all volunteer.
All volunteer.
Ditto.
Biz, what would you take us out on as a thought in terms of your work and the needs out there?
Absolutely what Kathy said. From my perspective, in a little bit narrower perspective, getting the governance right has never been more important to a nonprofit organization than it is today. We are dealing with the most complex, I said before, gritty, it's the financial strains, the workforce strains, the technology, the AI, just running the organization, the increasing demands of all of our clients and needs that you want to help. Many don't have strategic plans. Many say they don't have strong boards. So I think it's critical that folks realize that most of us would be an excellent board member for a nonprofit organization. And, if you can find an organization where you're passionate about the mission and learn about what it means to be a board member and really understand the board's role, it can really help organizations make a difference and further their missions.
Well, it's just been a real pleasure learning from you. Biz Voudouris, President CEO, and Kathy Golovan, Board Chair of Business Volunteers Unlimited. Unlimited indeed. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. Thank your staffs. Please thank your volunteers. Please thank those you serve who are helping us all to make the world a better place. And please, please, please thank your funders and your donors and the companies that support your activities, Biz and Kathy. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you, Mark.